Hi everyone, it's Joe here from Lawn Solutions Australia and welcome to this episode of Turf Talk, where we are revisiting an old topic or an old podcast from almost 2 years ago now, episode 33 with Marcus Rogers from Turfco. And Marcus left us that day with a quote that said, "From a farming point of view, we're super excited about the next 3 to 5 years. I think it will nearly definitely result in driverless tractors." And here we are only 2 years later talking about that exact thing with Marcus Rogers again from Turfco. Marcus, welcome.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay. So we're here to talk about automation. For those that didn't listen to the first one, Marcus is also my brother. We're not filming this one today. It may be a little more obvious if we were filming, but for reasons that we discussed earlier, we don't want our heads on camera together. But Marcus, we're going back to what we spoke about a couple of years ago, where we really focused on the innovation that Turfco has made both in the office and on the farm. Now, you said the next 3 to 5 years you think will definitely result in driverless tractors. This is a rare occurrence here, but you were, in fact, correct in this statement. So,
thank you. Lucky this is recorded.
When was the moment you and Turfco started seriously looking at automation?
I think when we touched on this last time we spoke, there was stuff out there that sparked our interest. We knew it was there and available, but probably not within reach. And then I suppose cycle back late 24, we knew there was retrofit technology that was potentially we were able to grab. And then as February last year, I was fortunate enough to go over to the International Turf Grass Conference. I should know the name
TPI,
of it. Thank you.
International.
Thank you. And able to see it firsthand and got speaking with the guys over there in America and said we need to bring him here as quick as we can. They were conscious of volume numbers to make the big leap across the water. We were able to get them across the line, and in, I'm sure it was early October, I should know the date, but we had it operating on our farm. So we've been having it there and working at our place for nearly 6 months now, which is awesome.
Now, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the robotic tractor in a second, but initially, what was this driven by? Was it efficiencies, labour shortages, all of the above? What really drove the need to get this to automate a tractor?
Within our business, whenever there's a big capital expenditure or even processes internal with web stuff, it's really important that we look at it holistically. It can't just benefit one avenue of business. It has to tick all the boxes. So we had some, I suppose, market pressures and a bit of supply and demand stuff that was probably hurting us. Turf industry's rode on the back of a boom for a good few years now, and it's slowed up. We sort of not quite got nervous, but looked at a few different things. Labour's always an issue for us and most turf farms, being heavily seasonal. Then we had some machinery getting older and a few other processes and intricate parts of our business that it was hard for us to get on top of and service customers and everything we're doing when grass is growing, basically. So we've seen this as an avenue to take a person out of a seat, open up our mowing window from 50, 60 hours a week in working hours to pull it to a 7-day and night operation, which was massive.
So I guess it was a perfect storm of looking to improve efficiencies, labour shortages, and then just general curiosity, which I guess you've always sort of had in this space. And you just mentioned mowing then. Was that the problem you were initially hoping this automated tractor would solve?
I think problem in terms of resources when grass is growing. So it's hard for a turf business to grab an extra 3 or 4 sets of hand just for short periods of the year. When grass is growing, we're in the business of growing stuff really fast and pushing things as hard as we can. You've got to match the work around that in peak time, and that's always when people want grass as well. So we often had truck drivers and installers getting pulled from other places and running short when we needed to. So you either work longer hours or stuff just doesn't get done. So the immediate influx of this, or the immediate introduction of this retrofit autonomy we have was massive for us. So we were able to heavily reduce CapEx straight away, free up labour, and get stuff done on the farm we didn't usually get done.
And I guess we're pretty excited to talk about today is the fact that you've now obviously implemented autonomy into your business through a retrofit automatic kit that fits onto a tractor that has solved some of your problems for you. And it is a Sabanto unit. Now, this has been installed on farm since, you said October, I think it was.
Yep.
If you want a little bit more background on the Sabanto unit, episode 70 of Turf Talk, we actually interviewed Corey Spady from Sabanto in the US, who spoke about the origins of their unit, which is really, really interesting to listen to. So if you haven't already, circle back and have a listen to that. But what was your sort of first reaction when you saw a tractor driving, pulling a mower on farm without a driver in the seat?
Probably a sigh of relief. So there's a fair bit of risk taken being the first people to do this and first people engaging in this type of conversation. There's a bit of, I wouldn't say there's any negative connotations with it. There was just probably more concern than anything else. Like, what if this happens? What if that happens? To see it working on our farm 8 hours after they installed it and been working seamlessly since then. And from the get-go, there was hardly any tweaking we had to do. It was massive. It was, in terms of different turf types and innovations that's happening in industry, which is all really exciting. This thing was probably the biggest breath of fresh air to us internally for our operations and day-to-day problems and restrictions we had. It was massive.
And, we've dealt a lot with robotic mowers and other pieces of autonomy here in the past, and there's always teething problems. So were there any surprises early on for you, or it kind of has worked pretty well since you put it in?
Yeah, there was surprises. There's a fair bit of, I don't know if naivety or ignorance probably isn't the word, but because it was something, you don't know what you don't know. And because we hadn't had this before, I think the main teething things we had around was knowing the mower doesn't think like a human. So changing processes around that and tweaking what we do daily has resolved them teething issues more than we've done more changing with teething issues around business operations than touching the implement itself.
So you're saying there were more surprises from a procedural point of view and ensuring your compliances is right with work health, safety and insurance and that sort of stuff, rather than surprises from the actual unit itself?
For sure. The main things we had with the unit, we have an awkward shaped farm paddock size. We don't have the luxury of long rectangle paddocks. So we had to tweak some implements on the back of it in terms of mower sizes. We were able to go from a 7 metre mower down to a 3 metre mower. So that actually reduced a fair bit of capital expenditure again. Mm-hmm. So any changes we had were more for positive reasons than they were negative. It was really comforting to not have to tweak or change the actual product we purchased. Mm-hmm. Everything we changed around business processes, which actually has been a lot more surprising for us in a positive way. We've changed stuff internally, from office to outside staff to drivers, to every single part of our business has changed in some way, shape or form thanks to this introduction of autonomy.
Now, you mentioned before you went to the US and you've been sort of privileged enough to see these things firsthand operating in another country, but your team or your staff doesn't often get that luxury of going to see these things first. They just rock up on the farm and all of a sudden there's a tractor driving itself. What's the learning curve or the initial experience been like for your team, for staff on farm and in the office?
It has been really positive. Not that I thought there was going to be any negatives with it, but the uptake and involvement and buy-in of everyone was better than I expected. We even have, obviously there was a person driving the tractor before, now there isn't. That person that was driving the tractor for 50, 60 hours a week in peak time is now not on it, and the buy-in and uplift that he's had personally has been massive. He's amped, he looks after it all, and he knows he's able to do other stuff on the farm, more higher value tasks that we couldn't get done before, in the end benefiting the business more than what it did before.
And because this is such new technology, how easy has it been to train other staff with how it's used? Because yes, it is a US machine, imported from the US, manufactured in the US, but there are Australian dealer networks here who look after it. So how easy has that switch been between you, the Aussie dealer, and training other Turfco staff? Has it been something that's been achievable?
Been achievable. Again, it's been learning and new things for us. What's been probably the biggest learning is internally within business. We talk WHS type systems. We've had to tweak traffic management plans to allow for autonomy, change some signage, change some processes of how we operate and do things, all for the betterment of the end result. But in terms of supporting that, Australian support's been really good. Same with overseas.
Mm-hmm. So did anyone feel, nervous trusting a robot towing, an expensive tractor towing an expensive mower? Was there a sense of nervousness when this thing was going around with no one in the seat from you and staff, or apprehension, or was everyone kind of pretty trusting of what it was going to do?
We were only nervous when it went near the first fence. When it missed it, we were pretty good after that, and it hasn't hit anything since, so that's all good. But there is, I think it's more from the public eye. The only nervousness I have wasn't within business. It was external. We're fortunate to have our farms on both sides of the highway, lots of drive-by traffic. People know and see where we are and they know what we do every day. It was more external reaction probably to it. Was a bit of nervousness because I suppose uneducated opinions can sometimes influence things that shouldn't, but it's been within business, it's been great.
Let's just touch, you mentioned improving WHS and signage and that sort of stuff around the farm. Let's just talk about the safety requirements or compliances with autonomy. So obviously there is safety assets on this machine, like object detection and that sort of stuff. But what are some of the main things you've had to change on farm in order to look out for not only employees, but also customers coming to the shop? You guys do a lot of turf pickups and stuff there. You also live on the farm. So what are some of the things you had to do safety-wise, or what are some of the, might be the timings that you mow? What are some of the things you've had to implement to ensure that safety is paramount with no one in the seat?
Yeah, it's been a blend of implement and change of process. So we have people and plant and agriculture. Obviously, there's a fair bit of hazards associated with that. The first step you can do is eliminate it, which is always the best. So we've put some fencing up around farm and offices so people and plant physically can't cross paths, whether it's autonomous vehicles or not. So that's been great. The other process is because we're not as concerned with strict working hours with mowing paddocks. We now mow later than arvo, finish later at night, Saturday, Sunday windows have opened right up. We are now able to manage our mowing of the farm autonomously directly around people and plant. So whenever people and plant not so much in that paddock, just in nearby paddocks or in that farm area, we don't have the tractor go on them days. It mows when no one's around.
So the method that you've used is almost a process of elimination by eliminating the risk by only running the mower outside of work hours or running it during work hours but away from where people generally are.
For sure, and there's comms associated with that as well. So elimination, obviously, when you look at a safety hierarchy, is the best thing you can do. So we do that for probably about 70% of the time. The remaining part of it, we make sure that we obviously have internal comms with every staff member that know when the mower's going and what's happening with that, and we've got some added signage and that on it. We are further tweaking the machine with some additional safety features like extra e-stops, and there's some light bars and that getting fitted to it. Yeah. But it's more around majority of what we do, elimination at the first step, then we have heaps of comms in between that.
So you feel confident, with the machine working in and around people and parts of your business then?
Absolutely.
Now, you've mentioned mowing. I just want to get your opinion on where you think automation best fits in turf farming. Mowing is an obvious one. It's a monotonous task. It needs to be done a lot. And this time of year now in Berry, you can mow every day and still not keep on top of grass growth. So what part of the business do you think you're going to take the robotic tractor to next? Would it be, is it aeration? What do you see as the next task you really wanted to take on?
That's a good question. That was key to our initial research and looking into getting autonomy here, because we wanted to take off all the low-value tasks that people don't like doing, basically. Mm-hmm. Mowing's monotonous. I mean, some people enjoy it, but not when you do it a lot of hours a week. The next part was the other low-hanging fruit would be aeration, because it's super slow, and cultivation work. We're talking tasks that are sub 2 Ks an hour on a tractor, which is pretty mind-numbing work. The Sabanto will do them today. Aeration and aggravation, we've already got the Sabanto doing it. Fertiliser spreading is the next step, and then boom spraying after that. We're looking at, we said initially it was 3 to 5 years on farm. We got there in less than 2. We think in the next 6 to 8 months we will have majority of farm tasks either automated or nearly automated. We'll
get into spraying a little bit later on, because there have been some movements in this space for Turfco and also Lawn Solutions with some robotic spray technology, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So I was actually talking to a turf farmer who's been on this podcast, Gary Luss from Lilydale Instant Lawn, who also has a Sabanto unit, and they had it rolling after plant yesterday. So there's a couple of things that, again, rolling is a very monotonous task, but it has to be done. So it just shows the diversity that is available with robotic tractor units. Now, we touched on this a little bit before, but I guess a good way to put it is automation, from your perspective, will not replace labour, it will reshape labour. So you don't see the Turfco staff size or labour size actually shrinking from the fact that you've introduced automation into the business?
Not really. So we used to rely on a bit of casual help on farm. It's eliminated the need for that, which was really hard to get if available anyway.
Yep.
And it's a reallocation of resources. So in other parts of the business, again, we talk peak season when grass is growing, we have a shortfall in getting turf out of the door on trucks, and that's what we're here to do.
Yep.
And same if we install a lot of the turf we supply, short on that. So we're able to reallocate staff and move them to shortfalls of our business that was not as reachable before.
Yeah, so reshaping labour would be a good way to put it, as opposed to replacing labour with autonomy. Now,
Correct.
At the end of the day, in order for automation's great. It looks cool. It does lots of wonderful things. People walk past and go, wow, but it's got to stack up from a business point of view and from a numbers point of view. So there'd be a lot of people listening to this just thinking, yeah, this is great, but is it worth it? So from a business point of view, let's talk ROI for a second now, your return on your investment you make, because it is a substantial investment. We don't have to talk actual numbers here because it does vary on how much you're buying, that sort of stuff. So purely from an ROI point of view, where do you see it fitting for Turfco, and what kind of return has it given you so far?
It's been bigger than what we thought, quicker. So when we pre-purchase, obviously you go through your business case stuff and make sure it's affordable. Like a big expensive bit of equipment, you don't just get it because you want it because it looks cool. It has to have a need more than a want, which it did. So we had bigger fleet, not always getting used, staff resources and things we spoke about. So we were able to, on farm in terms of production, our farm isn't massive, but we used to run 4 different tractors. We now only run 2. So straight away from a CapEx point of view, we were able to offload 2 tractors we simply didn't need. And then we're able to move, when we talk mowing, we had 2 7-metre wide mowers. You're talking a brand new ones of them. We had some pretty high tech in that, anywhere from 60 to 95K each. We were able to offload both of them and replace them with 3 3-metre mowers, which are a third of the cost, sometimes less. So essentially the first driverless tractor unit we bought, it paid for itself within that 6 months. Keep in mind too, all of our tractors that we own were about driver comfort. In-cab suspension, obviously closed cab aircon. We want to make it as comfy as we can for someone sitting in it so long, because this person isn't on there. It's no cab, not even roof on it, nothing. It's as cheap as you can get. So we're able to save a bit over a third in initial tractor buy cost as well. So for this first unit, it was quantifiable beyond measure. And the fact it's worked so well so quickly has just sped up that return on investment process, which is awesome. And we're just going through the twos and throws now of trying to get a second one here, because I think our business in terms of farm automation is just the mowing and aerating component, a couple other odds and ends. We think the 2 units here will really improve our efficiencies.
So the question you'll obviously get is how long before this tech actually pays for itself, and for you it was a lot quicker than what you thought, almost to the point where it was instant with a reduction in capital expenditure purely for the style of tractor and mower that you need to buy.
It was definitely instant, which was, we didn't think it was instant at the start because you always try and be conservative with new purchases. So after the first few months when it started working, we went, hang on, we don't need this extra tractor. We don't need this mower. And then we sat there a few months after we got it. It was before Christmas. And we went, hang on, this is basically paid for itself already. The second one we're looking at, obviously it has a return payback price in a few years' time, not initial, because we've already reduced our capital expenditure pretty lean, but it will still pay for itself over its lifetime.
Now, automation isn't just about savings, and also I guess convenience is the word you'll use. It changes your farming footprint in a way. What have you seen in terms of the quality of mowing, for example, when a robot's doing it as compared to when a human is doing it? We're not bagging out any of our human mower operators here, but what difference do you...
because I'm one of them.
Okay, we'll bag you out then. Happy to do that. But what difference do you see in terms of the result of a robotic tractor working as opposed to a human working? So from a quality point of view, but also from a maintenance point of view and the wear and tear on machines.
So that probably follows on from the question just before. So the first unit paid for itself straight away with gear we're able to offload. The second one will help assist the quality of product that we grow and sell. The robotic tractor, you set turn speed, you set revs, you set stop, start, PDO on and off, everything perfectly. You don't get anyone rushing to get home in a Van Arvo or bullet a gate like me trying to rush to get things done quicker isn't always best for machinery. This is completely alleviated now, and it's so more careful and cautious on the product we grow and sell every day. It's already proved better for crop yield and wastage, which is massive.
Now, autonomy improving crop yield and reducing wastage is a big thing. So I want to jump away from the mowing and the general farm work that your Sabanto automated tractor has been doing. And I want to just jump on quickly. I don't know how much you can really say in this space, but I want to talk about the next step that we're going to, which is the new spray technology. We don't have to mention brands or anything yet because it's not here in Australia yet. But in a nutshell, what are you hoping this new spray unit will do? Because spraying's a big deal for farms because conditions have to be perfect. You have to be more high skilled to spray than you do to perhaps mow, aggravate, roll, and those sort of things. So in a nutshell, what are you hoping this new spray unit will be capable of doing for you?
Chemical cost is a big thing for a business. If we're able to reduce that by 80 to 90%, that's a massive quantifiable step for us to look at purchasing bigger, fancier equipment. But I think, say we're talking green on green sprayers here, which is where tech's heading really quickly. So
green on green,
yeah.
What are you sort of saying it can do?
So if we got, say, clover, for example, it's a weed that everyone knows in a paddock. Say our paddock's 2 hectares, we've got to spray the whole 2 hectares, even though the coverage of the weed prevalence might only be 2% or sub 2%.
So you're talking mature, say, Tiff Tough paddock, for example.
You've got to spray the whole lot. So whenever herbicides get applied, as most people know, you slow up growth. Mm-hmm. We touched on earlier that our business is all about growth. The moment we slow stuff inhibits crop cycle, crop health, all the rest of it. The fact that green on green sprayers mean it will spray the size of a golf ball weed, can get smaller than that in terms of detection, but it allows us for the 2 hectare paddock to only spray 2% of it, not the 98 that didn't need spraying. So in terms of crop health, it's massive for us. Chemical savings, it's also the tech we're looking at is a shielded boom. Us and many other turf farms are in areas of high wind. You can't spray chemicals, obviously, if it's too windy. So your window gets really narrowed, and it's always hard of a morning too if you've got a narrow window to spray of a morning and there's heaps of dew around. Yep. You're not going to spray stuff when the ground's wet, so you got to wait till later on the wind picks up. It's a constant battle for us, so we're able to get there now with this green on green, and our eyes have only been opened up to this tech because we already have autonomy. Mm-hmm. It's really changed our thought process and mindset, which I think is massive for anyone in any business to keep looking at a better way to do things, but already have autonomy working on a farm has opened up a massive door for us.
So some people may have heard of this technology before. I think there's a bit of it in Australia at the moment, which is green on brown, which is the camera is essentially picking up a green weed out of brown dirt, which is a lot easier to identify. But green on green is a whole different ballgame. And like you just touched on then, the chemical reduction, not just from a cost point of view, but from an environmental point of view as well, is a pretty significant factor. I know a lot of the chem we use is perfectly safe, obviously, but putting less product on the ground and across your crop, you can be spraying 3 or 4 times a crop sometime, and it's always inhibiting growth. It's putting stuff into the ground that isn't bad, but it's probably better off not being there, I think is a right way to say that. So there's an environmental standpoint as well for using technology like this.
The sustainability and environmental standpoint is massive for us. Like you go back to, don't forget time as well, like we're talking what have we got now, a 12-metre wide boom. We're going back to a 2-metre wide one, which, no, that's heat smaller. Yeah, but it's shielded, so we'll be able to use it all day long. We also have time pressures, small windows, time to spray now over a whole paddock can take ages. If we're just green on green with wind protection, our windows, it's massive for our business, massive.
What is your timeline on this, do you think now? When do you think we'll see a tractor pulling a green on green spray unit without a driver in a seat? What are your sort of hopes and dreams in this space?
Within 3 months, it'll be working.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I was going to say we'll circulate back in 3 to 5 years, but it might be a little bit sooner than that to see when we're talking about this. So I read a quote that was interesting recently from a broadacre cropping contractor that works on properties out west of here, and he said farms could eventually run like automated factories outdoors. Do you see this evolution getting to turf farming eventually? Do you? Is that something that you think will happen, or will there always be a degree of human intervention in because of the nature of what we do?
This space is moving really fast, so it'd be hard to say. I think our business can get nearly all farm tasks automated. At the moment, harvesting and that is something out of reach. We're not as straightforward as some broadacre crops because we sell per square metre, not per, however, I don't know, other people do
Ton,
other farm stuff,
yep.
ton, all the rest of it. There's a sense of human touch on our product that needs to be there walking paddocks. You need a visual eye and need to have the boots on ground type thing with our product. I think there's processes that are painful for us at the moment we can automate, but there's human stuff you'd still need to keep where it is.
There's a degree of human intelligence that we still need, as opposed to the AI and the robotic intelligence now in turf farming, which I think is a really important point. Now, just sort of closing out this discussion, Turfco and a number of other businesses in the Lawn Solutions network are at the forefront of automation. I think it's a credit to you and Turfco with the I'd say the risk you've taken in this leap, because it always is a risk. But what do you think are the main barriers holding other turf producers back with automation now? Is it cost? Is it regulation? Is it reliability? What do you see as the main points of holding people back when they're seeing technology like this?
Mindset. I think mindset and how they do things currently, getting stuck in that a little bit. Like our business, we had to invest heaps of money for this stuff we're doing, and we look at obviously investing more. That cost is obviously quantified, and we were at a point where in a roundabout way we're forced to make this jump quickly. We had some hurdles in terms of finding labour, some machinery things and some restrictions, so I don't think we had much of a choice. And the fact that it's saving us money so quickly, I don't think the cost is prohibitive to a farm because it's cost saving. I think a lot of it's I do think it's a bit of mindset related.
And what would you say?
Say that.
Hey, yeah, that was good. Well done. What do you say to a turf producer now that might be a little curious about this space, or perhaps even hesitant? Not that I shouldn't say not that people would listen to you, but if you had some advice, you're quite experienced in this space now. If they were a little bit hesitant, what would you say to them?
I mean, turf farm's a little niche environment and world we all live in. Everyone helps each other. Go and look at one working. Go and talk to the farmer. We're all happy helping. I can sit there and show them on paper straight away the results that we're getting from a P&L point of view, purely from that, let alone the secondary benefits, which is the product we're selling. It's improving.
No, it's improved your farm. It's improved your automation's improved your vocabulary too. There's a couple of words there longer than 2 syllables, which is.
I've got time to look at words now.
It's almost mind blowing. But I don't want to make you sound like a scholar. But last time we spoke,
as long as you don't ask me to spell it,
yeah, it'd be a problem. Last time we spoke, you left us with a quote that said, from a farming point of view, that in the next 3 to 5 years that you think it'll definitely result in driverless tractors. That was proven to be correct. If we can leave this conversation now with a prediction, in the next 3 to 5 years, what do you think we'll be seeing on turf farms in turf production?
I think the green on green spraying is massive. I think we're able to, and again, customers are always forefront of what we're doing as well. We think in the next short future, within the 12 months, we will be able to tell a customer, even though some of that data is there now, how many times your turf was mowed, how many times it was sprayed, green on green stuff and a few other tech. We can tell them what we actually save them from an environmental point of view in terms of broadacre spraying and chemical use. And we're able to really tell I don't like using the term paddock to plate type thing. I mean, people don't consume turf, but it's an experience for people that they don't do every day in their life, returfing their home. So if we can really tell a story of what we've done to it, how we've cared for it, what we saved and the tech that's in it, I think there's a pretty cool end result for the customer.
No, it's a great point, and I was going to wrap there, but it did lead me on to speak of one more point, the thing you just mentioned about providing the consumer with more data to really tell the story about how the turf got to them. Turfco also does something pretty cool called the Smart Lawn. Did you just want to touch quickly on what your thought process is around the Smart Lawn and perhaps how people's lawns will work for them in the future? I'm talking retail customers now.
I think everything from the farm is scalable back to a backyard. It has to be because grass is grass. It's on a farm. It's in your backyard. We do a fair bit of installations and preparation works for people's new home lawns. We last year started with a bit of a smart lawn concept of hopefully bringing the stuff we learned on bigger farm scale back into small yards. So we now quite often we'll prepare a lawn, we'll install irrigation, obviously Wi-Fi phone control, which a lot of them are now, and we'll put a robotic mower at the end. So we're able to put a new turf in somebody's backyard that will water and mow itself. And their cost savings over that are there. They're very similar to on-farm, different scale, but everyone's time poor. They've now simply just got to whip a snip around the edges and fertilise every now and again. There's no watering, there's no mowing. It's taken from it.
So we spoke about where farming is going to go and where turf production is going to go. But if you also look on the retail point of view for customers, they can have a lawn that waters itself, that mows itself, but also the innovations in turf technology with new varieties using or requiring less nutrients, but also on the chemical end. These new products now, we're getting 6-month longevity out of grub control and herbicide control. It can be a lawn in a few years' time where the only requirement will literally be whippersnipping, and you can use growth regulator to slow that down too. So we're getting to the point where lawns are going to be, there's going to be a lot less touch points for people looking after their lawns.
In some respects, it's nearly there with grasses like Tiff Tuff that need bugger all fertility and stuff like that with it. We've got a few smart lawns we put in with Tiff that I don't think have even fertilised a year later, and they still look good. And it's funny, we talk about the mowing side of things automated. We have some lawns now that we have supplied and installed that have never been mown by a human. Our robotic tractor's done it on farm, and their mower's done it in backyard. It's pretty cool.
No, it's a cool story, and it's a credit to you and the Turfco business for the leap of faith, I guess, you've taken with automation, and I'm sure the fruits of your labour will be there for all to see very soon. And I guess we'll touch base again in the next 3 to 5 years with another episode to see how your predictions were last time. I'm not going to wait 3 years till I talk to you next, but thanks for joining us again.
No worries. Thank you.